How's it going, YouTube? I'm Landon, and you know what? Let's just jump right into this. This is the top 10 people who outlived insane prison sentences part 2. If you guys missed part 1, click right over here. The video is well on its way to 3 million views at the time of this recording, so with all the demand from you guys, this is a part 2. Also in the comment section below, let me know what top 10 video should we make next, and also stay tuned for the whole video. Stay tuned to the end of this video. There are some really messed up things on this video, and this video is like one of my most interesting ones that I've done, and that's my opinion. The research for this one, a whole lot of fun. Okay, so starting us off, number 10, we have Desmond Ricks, who has just spent 25 years behind bars. US prosecutors just dropped all the charges for Desmond because after this case was looked into again recently, investigators found out that the police falsified evidence. Desmond was convicted of gunning down a friend outside a restaurant in Detroit, Michigan back in 1992, and he was sentenced to 32 years in prison. Is this real life right now? So Desmond went to jail because people thought he killed his friend, so for 25 years everyone probably believed that he did it. So for that long, this guy just sat in a jail cell thinking about why he's even there. Desmond was released at the age of 51 years old, and it's gonna be hard for him to go back into society, but you know what, he does have a little bit of help. In a new Michigan law, it awards wrongly convicted prisoners $50,000 each year spent in prison, which means he would be eligible for $1.25 million. We have another innocent man at number 9, Keith Allen Harward. He was just released from prison after serving 33 years behind bars for a crime that he did not commit. He was wrongly convicted in 1982. Keith was convicted of murdering Jesse Perron and raping his wife in Virginia. Keith was released when he was 60 years old. The Innocence Project tweeted this out when he was released. After 33 years of wrongful conviction, hashtag Keith Howard is finally free. So this is a really sad part about this. Keith was able to outlive his prison sentence, but his parents were not able to, which means his parents passed away thinking that their son was a murderer, but he's innocent. Also, Keith was denied going to his parents' funeral, so now he wants someone to pay for this. What a sad, sad situation. Moving into number 8, we have Albert Woodfox, who served 43 years behind bars. Well, actually, Albert was America's longest standing solitary confinement prisoner. Albert had no view of the sky from his 6-foot by 9-foot concrete box, which is like way smaller than my bed, I think. And over that time, he has had no human contact. Anyone in this situation would go crazy. I would go crazy after just 1 hour. There are scientific studies that have shown that you can actually inflict severe psychological damage on an individual by putting them in solitary confinement for just a week. Albert's lawyer has been fighting this for decades. They have been saying that this is an extreme and cruel punishment. What do you guys think? If you murder someone, do you deserve to be in like a small cell for like 40 years, 50 years? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. At number 7, we have Ricky Jackson, who served 40 years in prison. Ricky was convicted at the age of 18 years old for murder he did not commit. I mean, what is going on with this trend here? Why are all these people being sent to jail for a crime that they did not commit? Ricky was 58 years old when he was released, and that was just in 2015, so a couple years ago. There was a federal lawsuit against the city of Cleveland and the police officers who Ricky says helped frame him back in 1975. This wouldn't be the first case where police interfered with an investigation. We all know the Brendan Dassey case, you know, the kid from the Netflix original Making a Murderer. If you haven't watched that show, I honestly highly recommend it. It's really good. Ricky, when he was sentenced, he was actually given the death sentence, but later it was commuted to life in prison. This just makes you think on like how many innocent people there are out there who's been in prison for the last like decades. And nowadays we have all these technologies that can avoid the mix-up, but there must be still thousands of people, innocent people, locked away due to the lack of technology back in the day. Number 6, we have a Guinness World Record holder, and we're talking about Iwao Hakamada, who is a Japanese former professional boxer who was sentenced to death in 1968 for a mass murder that became known as the Hakamada incident. In 2011, he was awarded the Guinness World Record for the world's longest held death row inmate. Definitely a record you don't want to try to go for. In 2014, after being on death row for 46 years, he was released. The trial came to a huge shock to the Japanese public, so apparently after 46 years, a district court found there was reason to believe evidence against him had been falsified. Is this real life right now? Do we have another innocent guy who was on death row serving almost 50 years for something that he didn't do? Alright, number 5, we have Betty Smithey, who served 49 years in prison. Betty walked into prison with a life sentence for murder, and at the age of around 70 years old, she was walking out with a cane. Betty is America's longest serving female inmate. She was behind bars for the murder of a 15-month-old child by strangling the baby while she was babysitting. The court sentenced her to life without parole. After years went by, her her sentence was lowered to just 48 years to life. Moving into number 4, we have Patrick Maloney, who just walked out of an Arizona prison after spending nearly 50 years in prison, and this is for killing his mother and his stepfather, and this is back in 1964. Patrick was released at the age of 65 years old, which means, if my calculations are right, he was 15 years old when he committed those horrible crimes. That is just something that doesn't sit well in my stomach. This is a teenager. For almost 50 years, Patrick has been fighting to be released from jail. He was first sentenced to life in prison, and then he had the death sentence, but then it was turned back again into a life sentence. Patrick started working with the attorney from Justice Project, and that was when he was granted hearings in a superior court. The US Supreme Court decided that having a life sentence without the possibility of parole for a juvenile murderer is just too cruel, and actually it's an unusual punishment under the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. I think if you murder someone, no matter what age you are, I think you should just be sentenced away and forgotten about. But maybe I'm just too harsh. Number 3, we have John Hall, who is actually still in prison, but there is a law that is out now that outlawed an old law that might make him released. Well, let me explain. John has a great chance of getting out of jail very soon. John has been fighting for his life since he was 17 years old after he received a life sentence for his role in a back alley killing in Detroit that claimed the life of a 63-year-old man. The US Supreme Court outlawed mandatory life sentences for juveniles. A judge gave John a potential second chance at life by re-sentencing him to 40 to 60 years in prison. After having already served 50 years, he's only got like 10 more years to serve, so John Hall, he should be released pretty soon. So this guy totally outlived like a 50 to 60 year life sentence. Number 2, we have Earl Reinhardt, who is now set free after being in prison for 50 years. Earl was released when he was 75 years old. When he was released, he became homeless instantly because he has no money, he has no family members to help him out. Earl has been trying to keep warm in libraries. He's been seen eating in soup kitchens. Earl actually ended up in a nursing home because he couldn't take care of himself. He just got too old. There was not a lot of information on this guy because it just seems like society has just forgotten about him. And this seems to be a common trend for this next one. Finally, number 1, we have Machal Lalung from India, who served 54 years in an Indian jail. Machal was arrested at the age of 23 years old back in 1951 in his home village. Machal was booked under section 326 of the Indian Penal Code for causing grievous harm, which means he inflicted harm on someone, maybe like a stab wound or something. The charge normally results in a sentence of no more than 10 years imprisonment. Well, here's where this story gets crazy. The civil rights organization who investigated the case later found no substantial evidence to support the charge. Less than a year after his arrest, he was transferred to a psychiatric institute in Tezpur, India. Doctors there certified Machal as fully fit, but instead of being released, he was for some reason transferred to a jail where he was just forgotten about. So Machal was forgotten about for 54 years. So for 54 years, for no reason at all, he was just sentenced away. He just had, like, I don't really understand this one. It's really sad if you ask me. I don't get how something like this goes on for over 50 years. Well, there you guys have it. That was insane. There was a lot of research into this video, but I know you guys all love it. Let me know if I should do a part 3 in the comment section below. Put hashtag make part 3. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you guys all in the next one.